behalf of the officers and the board of MJDS, I would like to welcome each of you to the graduation of the 2016 8th grade class at the Milwaukee Jewish Day School, where academic excellence and Jewish values prepare children for a lifetime of success, leadership, and engagement with the world. Please rise for a singing of our national anthem. They say it takes a village, and this is such an important celebration for our village. Congratulations to the graduates on this exciting accomplishment and on reaching this important milestone. As I thought about what sage advice I would share with the graduates this evening, I considered the writings and speeches of Socrates, Maimonides, Rabbi Soloveitchik, Albert Einstein, Dr. Martin Luther King, Dr. Jonas Salk, but I settled on the most famous doctor of all, Dr. Seuss, who said, "Be who you are and say what you feel, because those who mind don't matter, and those who matter don't mind." Graduating from MJDS is an experience and an accomplishment that will be a part of you for the rest of your lives. Well done, Mazel Tov. I want to thank the parents of each graduate for making the investment in an MJDS foundation and education, and for creating, participating, nurturing the community that we all enjoy and from which we all derive so much fulfillment. I know you are beaming with pride and an enormous sense of accomplishment. You earned it and you deserved it. Congratulations. I want to thank the extraordinary teachers and staff at MJDS for their care, diligence, and hard work throughout each student's MJDS journey. Culminating in this ceremony today. It is not possible to articulate the impact these educators have on our children and their success. Thank you, Kol HaKavod. MJDS relies heavily on the generosity of donors and volunteers to maintain its top-flight academic program, our core of Jewish values in life, innovation, and our extraordinary programming. Thank you for your generous, loyal, steadfast, and crucial support. Finally, thank you to Rabbi Cherkoff and Cantor Berman and all of Congregation Shalom. This extraordinary, beautiful sanctuary is such a fitting place for such a meaningful event. Thank you for sharing it with us, for your warmth and hospitality, and for being such an integral part of our celebration and our community. It is my pleasure and honor to introduce Rabbi Noah Cherkoff.
Thank you so much. And it is such a pleasure to welcome all of MJDS to our congregation and to our sacred space. And as our teachers and our students walked down the aisle, it was clear from the looks on their faces, the looks of pride on the faces of the teachers, the looks of joy and excitement on the faces of our young people, and the looks of love on the faces of all of our family members here, that it is appropriate that we say a blessing, a prayer at this time. So it is also appropriate that we say a blessing that speaks to the generations and to our ancestors. Mishabera Chavotenu V'imotenu, Avraham Yitzhak V'Yaakov Sarah Rivka Rachav Leah, Hu Yivarech et HaTalmidenu. May the one who blessed our ancestors, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah, bless our students. Like Abraham, may you have the courage to embark on new and exciting journeys. And like Isaac, may you embrace the world with love. Like Jacob, may you wrestle with challenges and triumph to be blessed. And like Sarah, may your experiences be filled with joy and laughter. Like Rebecca, may you be willing to help others as you continue your journey. Like Rachel, may you be loved by all who meet you. And like Leah, may you be blessed by the love of the family who will always cherish you. And let us all say, Amen.
Thank you, Rabbi Kiva. Erev Tov and Rufi Habayim. My name is Cheryl Primico, and I have the honor and privilege of serving for the past 5 months as head of school at Milwaukee Jewish Day School. As I stand in this holy place, I am in awe of the 18 young people who are before us tonight and all that they have accomplished during their journey at MJDS. But more about this special group in just a minute. As the rabbis say about their teachers, we are standing on the shoulders of giants. Today I am doing just that as I stand on the shoulders of Brian King, who served as the head of school until January of this year. Brian's vision for what 21st century education must be, combined with the strong foundation for excellence and Jewish values that he championed, have characterized our school during the 5.5 years of his tenure. Thank you, Brian. None of us would be here without the vision of founding director Doris Schneidman, who was unable to be here with us tonight, and I understand it's the first time she's missed a graduation since the very first one. I had the pleasure of working with Doris during the early years of the school. Her inspiration, her tireless devotion, and her keen insight into education and children guide me in my work every day. She's right up here in my head. MJDS's first teacher, Merzy Eisenberg, and longtime teacher and co-director Marge Myers are an important part of who we are, and they are here with us tonight. Merzy and Marge, would you please stand to be recognized? MJDS thrives due to a strong partnership between the school and its parents. Thank you to our parent volunteers, to all of the parents here tonight, and to our MJDS PTO for all you do every day to support our students, our teachers, and our school. A special thanks to PTO co-presidents Sharon Brinker and Jody Sprinkman for their service this past year, and to incoming presidents Lindy Lieberman and Susan Rickheimer. We are blessed to have this kind of leadership. Above all, we owe our deep gratitude to the MJDS teachers and staff, who day in and day out share their passion, their love, and their professionalism with our students. They love your children like their own. They light up our children's minds and their hearts and their souls. Quite simply, they are our heroes. Just as we have graduates tonight, so are some of these heroes graduating tonight. Some to retirement, and some moving on to their next professional challenge. I would like to publicly acknowledge and sincerely thank Ann Gleichman, Sarah Menashe, and Ann Yurkowitz, all of whom are retiring, as well as Moish Steigman, Sandy Wright, Lonnie Denny, Cammie Gilbert, Wendy Lambert, Rachel Naiman, and Elizabeth Neubauer. You leave us stronger and you leave us wiser. Would all of the staff please rise to be recognized? to realize that you just may be in the presence of an extraordinary group of young people. That was clear to me the first time I sat down to talk and meet with all of you last January. You were respectful, thoughtful, friendly, and inquisitive. And you were direct and no nonsense in your questions. You were appropriately demanding, very confident, and you didn't stop talking. I loved you all immediately. Tonight I get the privilege of sharing a few parting words to you. I want to leave you with a passage from Pirkei Avot, The Wisdom of the Fathers, chapter 2, verse 9. It seemed to speak to me about all of you. He said to them, "Go out and see which is the best trait a person should acquire." Rabbi Eliezer said, "A good eye." Rabbi Yehoshua said, "A good friend." Rabbi Yossi said, "A good neighbor." Rabbi Shimon said, "One who considers the consequences of an action." Rabbi Elazar said, "A good heart." He said to them, "I prefer the words of Rabbi Elazar ben Arach to yours, because your words are included in his words." Why did this passage make me think of all of you? Because Zach, Jackie, Josh, Ethan, Abby, Danya, Shira, Taylor, Lauren, Hayden, Jen, Bella, Sarah, Talia, Nina, Daniel, Danny, and Jesse. Without exception, you are a group who knows how to rejoice in the success of one another, something you showed just yesterday at your graduation assembly, through your genuine pride for each other's accomplishments and awards. You know how to be good friends, and you are good friends to each other, accepting the uniqueness that characterizes each of you and understanding that it is what makes each of you so special. You care about your neighbors, your community, both your MJDS community of teachers and fellow students, and the broader community you have learned about through your studies and through your recent trip to Israel. You have learned to consider the consequences of your actions, even when it's hard. And above all, you have good hearts. It's right there, all together in your hearts. Take those good hearts of yours and let them guide you. Your hearts have the lessons you have learned in MJDS within you. Lessons of Derek Eretz, Kehillah, Kedusha, and Tikkun Olam. Let your hearts remind you to continue to ask questions, embrace learning, be leaders, and share with others. Be curious, accept challenges, remain confident, and remember where you come from. Know that your Judaism rests in your heart and in your soul, and that it will always be with you. And just as they have every step of the way, your parents, your family, your teachers, your friends, and your community will be there to support you. Graduates, your time at MJDS is just about over. You'll soon join more than 750 alumni who have distinguished themselves in every possible way. I know you will go on to achieve so much in high school and beyond. As you go on to your next journey, always remember what you have inside of your heart, and let your heart influence every part of your being. B'hatzlacha b'derech and mazel tov. It's my pleasure now to introduce Rabbi Moshe Steinman.
These 18 eighth graders are graduating and leaving MJDS. We also have a number of families who no longer will have children enrolled at MJDS and therefore are graduating as well. Would these parents please stand and remain standing as I call them out so that we may recognize all of you. Allison and Robert Asmuth. Galina and Albert Godkin. Kathleen Peltz and Richard Goldman. Karen and Barry Mason. Yulia and Leon Novak. Cheryl and Bob Haley. Michelle and Bruce Royford. Jody Silverstein. Dawn and Max Batesman. Alyssa and David Wasserman. Thank you for returning to welcome 18 new members to this illustrious club. And now it is my pleasure and privilege to invite our graduates to speak and share their own words and thoughts. Since the class is speaking in 3 sections, please hold your applause until the last group has finished and all the students have spoken.
Ever since I was a little kid, I always wanted to go to Hogwarts, the school of witchcraft and wizardry Harry Potter and his friends attend. It's a magical place filled with spells and secret rooms and spectacular things beyond belief. I cried on my 11th birthday when I didn't receive a letter, either by owl or U.S. mail inviting me to Hogwarts. However, I have been lucky enough to attend MJDS for 8 years, and there are some definite similarities to Hogwarts. Just like Harry, who met Ron and Hermione at Hogwarts, I met some of my best friends here too. We stand up for each other and make the best team ever. Instead of setting off fireworks during exams and apparating, we put up potty papers and watch Hebrew movies. My friends are one of the big reasons MJDS is so amazing. By the end of 8th grade, and especially since the Israel trip, we have become so close. Like the fabulous banquets at Hogwarts, MJDS has some pretty amazing school lunches. Miss Weasley better watch out because the lunch cabarets cook up a serious storm. We don't have butterbeer or chocolate frogs, but we do have yummy grilled cheese and chocolate chip cookies. Just like the Gryffindor common room, this year MJDS has its own common room, or teen lounge. However, we leave it to the 6th and 7th graders. The 8th grade goes in it about as often as Hufflepuff wins the Quidditch Cup, which is never because Hufflepuff has never won. Sadly, MJDS does not have a giant deadly serpent in the basement or defense against the dark arts class. But we do have some amazing things here, like the Shoah unit in Jewish studies, poetry night in ELA, the school musicals, and cooking in Omanu. And fortunately, there are no teachers like Gilderoy Lockhart and Dolores Umbridge who send students into the Forbidden Forest for detention and secretly work for corrupt wizard governments. But most of all, MJDS and Hogwarts have one important thing in common. They will always be there to welcome their students home. Hem tamid yihyusham kedei lekabel bivracha et talmidayim hashavim habayta.
החלק הכי משמעותי בבית הספר היום היהודי הקהילתי במילווקי הוא החינוך והערכים היהודיים. The most important part of MJDS is the education in Judaism. Judaism is important to me because it is part of who I am, and I want to be able to pass on my Jewish knowledge to my children. At MJDS, I have had the chance to hear survivors speak about their experiences during the Shoah. When I have children, there will probably not be any more living survivors, so I will have to be the one who continues to tell the survivor stories to the next generation. MJDS has also taught me so much about the history of all the holidays, like the stories of Hanukkah and Purim and Passover. When I was in lower school, we had Hanukkah rotations. We got to eat latkes, the gelt, and play dreidel. At Purim, we made shloch manot and ate hamantashen. For Passover, we had a chocolate seder one year. These are all memories and traditions I will be able to share with my children. But I didn't only learn about the holidays and the history of Jews, I learned so much about the country of Israel. We celebrated Israeli holidays with ceremonies for Yom HaZikaron and parties for Yom HaAtzmaut. This year, before our trip, we researched various topics about the country. My topic was Israel's diverse people and their cultures. This knowledge made our class to Israel 10 times more special, and I am so thankful that I got to go to Israel with all the knowledge that I had. In a little bit, you will get to hear more about our wonderful Israel experience, but for now, I'd just like to say that I am very appreciative for MJDS and all the amazing Jewish experiences.
להארי פוטר יש מעיל בלתי נראה לשמור עליו, אבל בשיעורי עברית אתם צריכים כיפה נראית, כיפת ויזיביליטי. כי כאשר אין לכם כיפה, אנשים לא יכולים לראות אתכם. Harry Potter had an invisibility cape to protect him. However, in Ivrit, you need a visibility kippah. Without one on your head, you will never be recognized in class. Third, never ask if a binder check is coming up in science. If you do, an increased workload lies ahead. Fourth, remember to meet the deadlines for those autobiography essays and social studies assignments, because it is great practice for high school, and in high school, turning in homework late can have major consequences. And finally, order hot lunch as often as you can. I know the lunch ladies. The terrific meals they prepare are worth every dime.
MJDS has taught me the ethics of being Jewish and what being Jewish is all about. One topic that MJDS has focused on especially this year is to treat everybody with kindness, no matter the religion, race, or gender. Growing up in a family with a Jewish mother and a Catholic father, this is a very important concept to me. It has taught me that no matter what religion you are, everybody should be treated with respect. As I have been raised Jewish, I have learned that some people in history and today do not accept the Jewish people or respect the Jewish customs. When I learned this, not only did it make me feel horrible inside, but it also inspired me to take action. To quote the writer Aeneas Nin, "Anachnu lo ro'im et hadvarim kafi shehem, anu ro'im atam kafi she'anachnu." This translates to English, we do not see things as they are, we see things as we are. Judging a person based on religion or race may be due to lack of knowledge, but people need to understand that those that they are judging are human beings as well. People can feel alone, can be hurt, and may even be killed because others don't understand what we are all human beings. Being part of a mixed religion family has also taught me to be more open and tolerant of other religions. I have been attending the school for more than 9 years, and if I have learned anything, it is to lead by example. I know I will meet thousands of people throughout the course of my life, and I will always take into account a person's character instead of judging them based on race, religion, gender, or creed. To quote Martin Luther King Jr., "I have a dream today that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but the content of their character. I will do my part to make this dream come true."
Since I came to the United States and the Milwaukee Jewish Day School 2 years ago, I have learned and experienced a lot of new things. First of all, my English has improved. When I came here, I could speak and write some English, but now I'm reading Shakespeare and writing 5-paragraph essays. Not only have I explored Milwaukee, but I have also traveled all around the U.S. from California to Florida to Washington, D.C. I have also learned the rules of football and started rooting for the Green Bay Packers. I learned how to throw the football. Maybe I will be the first Israeli-born quarterback in the NFL. Since I came here, I have learned to love the Cheesecake Factory and basketball. At MJDS, I found that the teachers are a little stricter, but they really care about you. I also learned that a kippah at MJDS is like water in the desert. You always need it, and you will not get far without it. At MJDS, I was the Israel expert in a Jewish studies class and the Hebrew expert in Ivrit. But maybe I had to work a little harder than the other kids in English class and American history. I've also learned that blue might be fun to play with, but your teachers won't like it when the posters start falling off the wall. It's been fun spending 2 years here at MJDS. התועלת של מסעות היא הסדרת הדמיון באמצעות המציאות, כך שבמקום לחשוב על איך הדברים יכולים להיות, ניתן לראות אותם כפי שהם באמת. The purpose of traveling is to settle the imagination with the reality so that instead of imagining how things can be, you can see how they really are.
אני לא מדבר כי יש לי כוח לדבר. אני מדבר כי אין לי כוח לשתוק.
I don't speak because I have the power to speak. I speak because I don't have the power to
school for these past 10 years has helped me realize my connection with Jews all over the world. This past winter break, I went on a cruise with my family. On that cruise, I met about 1,000 people from all over the world with different backgrounds and ethnicities. One day, I overheard a person on her cell phone speaking in Hebrew. I decided it was the perfect opportunity to test out my Hebrew skills. As soon as she put down the phone, I piped up and said, "Shalom, my homie." She immediately laughed and responded, "Shalom, ma koreh." Over the course of the next 20 minutes, we proceeded to have a great conversation in Hebrew. I learned that she was from Israel and her son was in the army, and she learned that I was a student at MJDS and that I lived in Milwaukee. We had an instant connection. Although we had never met before, it felt so natural and as if we have always been friends. Speaking in Hebrew with a random stranger made me feel proud of the hard work that I put into learning Hebrew at MJDS. In addition, while speaking in Hebrew, I was able to express my Jewish identity and relate to someone in a way that only Jews can. There's something very special about being a Jew. I can imagine connecting with other Jewish people in this very same way. Maybe we will speak Hebrew to each other. Maybe we will share a love of latkes or sufganiyot. Maybe we will meet through a halal house event at college or a BBYO convention. MJDS has provided me with the language, skills, confidence, and deep understanding of what it means to be a Jew. Because as the saying goes, wherever you go, there's always someone Jewish. You're never alone when you say you're a Jew. So when you're not home and you're somewhere kind of newish, the odds are don't look far because they're Jewish too.
Which makes you unique. Walt Disney. Nobody looks the same, nobody talks the same. We were all born to be our own unique individual person. We were all born to be different. The Torah doesn't say, and on the 8th day, God said, let there be millions upon millions of exact replicas of Adam, and make sure nobody ever stands out in any way whatsoever. We were all born with different hair and skin color, so why change any of that to be the same? One of the reasons I am so comfortable being myself and being an individual is because of my friends at MJDS. When I am with them, I feel free to act however I want. I don't have to raise my hand to speak or sit silently. With my friends, I am able to run around like a crazy person and express myself in whatever weird ways I want, because I don't have to worry about embarrassing myself. These are my friends. They don't laugh at me, they laugh with me. Thank you to my friends for letting me be an individual, and thank you for being such great friends. As excited as I am for high school, I had an amazing 6 years with you guys, and I will miss our small special grade. As the great Winnie the Pooh once said, Eza mazal sheyesh li siba, shebiglala kol kach kasha li lomar lehitraot. How lucky I am to have something that makes saying goodbye so hard.
החיים הם כמו רכבת הרים. יש עליות ויש ירידות, אבל זאת ההחלטה שלכם, אם לצעוד או ליהנות מהנסיעה. Life is like a roller coaster. It has its ups and downs, but it's your choice to scream or to enjoy the ride. My experience at MJDS was similar to a roller coaster ride. It started slowly. I walked into the classroom on my first day of junior kindergarten, a shy little girl. I made friends and it was all so exciting. I was climbing to the top of the hill. And then, all of a sudden, on came the tests and reports and projects of second grade. I dipped down a small hill of the roller coaster. However, before I knew it, I was right back on top of the hill, making leaf crowns and Rube Goldberg machines in 3rd grade. But what goes up must come down, and I did just that when 4th grade tests and projects came around. When middle school started, I was heading up the biggest hill on the whole roller coaster. As we all know, the end of the roller coaster is always the best. At the top, there were the 6th grade retreat and Voice of the Children in 7th grade, but there were also the drops. The tests, the reports, the 250-word Hebrew essays. Then, all of a sudden, 8th grade rolls around, and it was truly the best part of the whole ride. The bike trip, poetry night, the Israel trip, these were just some of the loop-de-loops that made the roller coaster ride so exciting. And finally, here we are at the end of the ride, graduation. It was a great ride, and I'm sad it's over. Luckily, the next roller coaster ride is not too far away, and I feel ready for everything it brings.
A chapter's ending, but the story has only just begun. A page is turning for everyone. I've always got the memories while I'm finding out who I'm going to be. Sung by Hannah Montana. You may not understand the memories in my poem, but they will. Many memories I have made are still in my mind today. K5, the blue dress, we fought over who would wear it every day. 1st grade, ice skating, we often would fall. In spite of slips and freezing cold, we still had a ball. 2nd grade, old-fashioned school day. 19th century school was quite a different way. 3rd grade, reading and making our own Linnaeus almanac. The leaf crowns were magnificent. I wish I had them back. 4th grade, we laughed about the towel boy. Everyone thought we were crazy. Oi. 5th grade, Code Red. Our silent movie was pretty cool, even if Bobby Joe wasn't actually at school. 6th grade, the Brewers game, of course, being me. I held up the sign when the Jumbotron caught us, so I couldn't see. 7th grade, a day in the life of an African child. It was rainy and hot, but it was one of the best experiences of my life, and I sure did learn a lot. 8th grade, the bike trip. We rode 90 miles. It was very long. A great bonding experience. I made it by humming my favorite song. And to finish with Hannah Montana, אנחנו לא נשארים יחד, אבל אני רוצה שתדעו שאתם תמיד תהיו איתי בכל דרך שאני אלך בה. We might be apart, but I hope you always know you'll be with me wherever I go.
I've learned something important from the teachers here at MJDS. It's not a regular run-of-the-mill lesson. It's quite different than what you would expect. Everyone thinks that an unwritten rule is, do whatever you want, just don't get caught. This can refer to us sharing food during lunch or playing games on the Chromebooks when no one is watching. Many students mastered the art of sneakiness, while others struggled to grasp it and constantly got in trouble. All jokes aside, I've interpreted this advice differently. The way I see it is that when no one is there, when no teacher is watching, you can share food, you can play games instead of doing your work, you can, but should you? Is it okay if no one is watching? The answer, of course, is no. I know I should be in my best behavior. I know I have to get my work done. I know I have to respect the school's rules. As H. Jackson Brown Jr., the author of Life's Little Instruction Book, once said, our character is defined by what we do when we think no one is looking. Thanks to MJDS, I will always try my hardest to do the right thing in any situation. As it is said in Mishlei chapter 10, verse 9, Holech batom yelech beta, u'me'akesh rahab yivadeo.
7th grade at MJS offered us an experience that cannot be found outside of a Jewish school. Last year, we were the first class to build a sukkah for Hag Sukkot. At the start, there was a lot of planning, and it didn't seem like there was a whole lot to do. The first week of building, everyone just fooled around. We were in group support, developing designs. We ended up putting together the best of our ideas for construction. Then we brought drills, hammers, and other supplies from home. When there were enough supplies and tools, we got to work. Who would have thought that in a Jewish studies class, students could be busy cutting wood and drilling? We all had a job. I was drilling, some people were designing, some people were putting boards together, and some people were decorating. Everyone contributed something. Once the structure was completed, we started painting the inside. We hung decoration from the ceiling. Someone fell into the garbage bin and got stuck. We all laughed like crazy once we were sure that the person was okay. We liked the result and the experience that we had working together, and we were proud to welcome the other grades to visit our sukkah. Building the sukkah will always be memorable because we're given so much סוף זה תמיד חלה של משהו אחר. טוב יותר, רע יותר, לא יודע מה יותר. The end is always the beginning of something different. Better, worse, I don't know what is best. Although this is the end of our time at MJS, building a circle was the beginning of a new tradition here. I hope this tradition continues for the 7th grade classes in the future.
Osher no davar, shemegia min hamukam, hu novea mima she'ata oseh. Happiness is not something ready-made. It comes from your own actions, wrote the Dalai Lama. When I came to MJDS in 7th grade, I truly just wanted to expand my Jewish identity. But what I didn't know was that I was about to learn and do so much more than that. Over the last 2 years, I've made so many new friendships and memories. I learned that if you watch Criminal Minds, the lunchroom isn't just a place where you go to eat, but also a place to create mysteries and profiles. I learned that if you mummify a chicken, the smell will just destroy your nose. I learned how to swaddle a potato. I learned that you make many new friends when you join the school musical. I learned that going to Nicolay for math in your Purim costume isn't the best idea. I learned that if you invite Dylan O'Brien or Matthew Gray Grubler to your bat mitzvah, they most likely won't come. During my time at MJDS, I did things I never thought I would ever do. I ran for student council. I joined the school musical. I slept in a cardboard box and carried 3 jugs of water on my back to raise money for Voice of the Children, and made up an invisible boyfriend for my friend and me so that we could fall asleep without thinking of the bugs in our sleeping bags. I biked 90 miles without falling, and I met a group of amazing people, teachers, and students. Together we learned so much, accomplished so much, and experienced so much, and I will never forget them. We stand here today as graduates, and I am so thankful for my friends for being there for me every day. Sometimes the unexpected moments are the ones you'll never forget. I'll never forget
Constitution. I built a model of an earthquake-resistant building, and I read and studied one of my favorite books ever, Holes. However, the most lasting lessons I learned came from the Holocaust survivors that came to speak with us about their struggles. One survivor told the amazing story about how he was so happy one day when he was in a concentration camp because he found a grasshopper. Normally, this would not make anyone happy, but he was ecstatic because he had found an amazing meal, better than he would get all day. The conditions were so terrible, but even in his struggles, he still kept hope for a better tomorrow. Another survivor told us how he learned to let go of hate. He did not want to let his hate for the Nazis ruin the rest of his life. Hate only destroys us. Instead, we should focus on the good things in life. From the survivors who spoke to us, I take this. No matter how difficult life may be or whatever challenges are put in my path, I will overcome them and remain positive. Ken, de'eh chokhmah lenafshecha, matza'ata v'yesh acharit, v'tikvatecha lo tikareh.
Gores is der Weitek von Ahavaven, Azin, and Gresser von Ahavaven, Tachta. Great is the pain of bringing up sons, and greater of bringing up daughters. Shalom Aleichem. Hopefully I've not been such a pain to bring up. I've tried not to be. Thankfully, my parents have taught me so much about life as I explore the world around us. I remember what they taught me, to always question the world, to ask how and why. My mom used to bring me on her jobs when I was little. There I discovered the world around me and my love of nature. I would play with worms and bugs. I also tried to catch bees. My mom told me about the wonders of plants and how precious they are to the world. My mom and dad both love animals, so we had a zoo of 5 dogs, 2 hamsters, 3 hermit crabs, 7 fish, a cat, and a lizard. Having those pets taught me about animals. I also learned the responsibility for them, to some degree. When my parents caught wind of my love of nature, he would try to get me to probe further into the things in the world. That evolved into my love of science. I remember the countless times I would be in the car asking my dad questions, such as in 2nd grade when I asked my dad about volcanoes, and he ended up trying to explain pressure to me, or when I asked about oil prices dropping. After he explained it to me, I had to keep answering his questions about it throughout the night. Because MJDS offers the opportunity to explore the world, ask questions about nature and science and animals and history and Shakespeare, my parents decided to send me to MJDS. I wouldn't have it any other way.
Hidori, Hidori, Kiva Ored Kumi Uri, Uri Uri, Shir Dabri, Kavod Eloheinu Alai Nigla. This is a stanza from the prayer Lahadodi, which is recited as a part of Kabbalat Shabbat, asking us to wake up and sing and praise the glory of God. Sitting on my parents' lap, holding their hands, and dancing and singing were what made Shabbat sing so memorable in kindergarten. That was what I looked forward to each Friday. Sometimes we would sit with the big kids. I remember thinking the 8th graders had to be at least 10 feet tall. I was a little 5-year-old, and I had to be held up so I could see the rabbi. Then the 8th graders would try to get me to stand up and dance to songs like Shir. Now, I'm the one holding up the little kids. I'm the one who encourages them to dance. And now that I'm in 8th grade, I think the kindergartners are getting smaller and smaller each year. Some of the songs are different, and some of the students and teachers and parents are different, but the great experience is still the same. Shabbat sing is one of my most important memories of MJDS. It is a nice way to end the week, to come together as a school community, sing songs, and celebrate our Judaism together.
It has been such a privilege to attend the Milwaukee Jewish Day School. I am graduating today feeling very prepared for my future. At many schools, the teachers do not care about how well their students are doing. At MJDS, however, that is not the case. Here the teachers invest their time in helping each of their students to succeed to the best of their abilities. For this, I am so thankful. At MJDS, not only have I received an education that has well prepared me for the rest of my life, but I've also been given the privilege of learning Hebrew. Knowing Hebrew strengthens my connection to Israel as well as allows me to connect more easily with Jews all over the world. Many schools offer foreign language classes starting in middle school. But I have had a wonderful experience learning Hebrew since I arrived at MJDS in first grade. Learning the language for such a long time has allowed our class to study it more in depth. Preparing for a bar bat mitzvah is a very time-consuming and challenging process, but the fact that I could already speak and read Hebrew well was a great advantage for me. In addition, I just recently was able to use my Hebrew in Israel, where it helped me greatly to interact with my host family and the kids at the Kaduri school, as well as other instances along the trip. I am so thankful for the Hebrew knowledge that I have taken from MJDS, and I look forward to using what I've learned throughout the rest of my life. Makom echad yesh ba'olam shel Hashem einenu niflatim, ach lo mehagrim ela ba'im habayta Eretz Yisrael. There is only one place in the world where Jews do not have to be admitted to. They are not immigrants, but where they are coming home. Klana Senesh.
ראיתי מולי שתי דרכים נפתחות, ובחרתי בזו שעברו בברכות, וזה שעשה את כל ההבדל. Two roads diverged in the yellow wood, and I took the one less traveled by, and that has made all the difference. This is a quote from the poem, The Road Not Taken, by Robert Frost. I think it illustrates my MJDS education very well. My parents chose to lead me down the road less traveled by giving me the opportunity to experience a different type of education. Experiences I have encountered while on my MJDS expedition, such as Voice of the Children and the Bike Trip, have taught me that even I, a middle schooler in Foxborough, Wisconsin, can change the world. My journey at MJDS has been adventure-filled with steep uphills, such as moving here in first grade, learning about the Shoah, and taking on geometry in Nicolay, and flat plains, cruising through lower school, where I learned everything from cursive to long division, and middle school, where I studied everything from Greek myths to Shakespeare. Through every terrain, I learned something new that I will keep with me for the rest of my life. From the amazing Jewish education, to the wonderful relationships I have with my teachers, to the lifelong memories my classmates and I created in Israel, my adventure at MJDS was more than worth it. So if you come to a fork in the road and you do not know which way to go, please take the path less traveled by, because it will make all the difference.
Before leaving for Israel.
Ever since I was 5, I always wanted to go to Israel.
I was so excited to go to our Jewish homeland with 17 of my closest friends.
I was super nervous for the plane ride.
On arriving in Israel,
Wow! I was glad we were off the plane.
I kept saying, guys, we're in Israel!
Everyone was speaking Hebrew.
I felt like I belonged there.
I felt like I was home.
When we climbed to Masada,
It felt like I was crawling rather than hiking.
I thought it would be impossible, but I pushed through and made it to the top, and it was the most rewarding feeling ever.
I felt as if I were standing on top of the world.
My water bottle decided to take an adventure down the side of Masada. It must have been a bumpy ride.
at the Dead Sea. It felt like I was taking a bath in a giant tub of olive oil.
I could float like an otter.
The weather was
Nice, sunny, and hot.
The water was hot and great.
Cool mornings, and then bam, it's hot.
At Ben Gurion's house,
It was interesting to see that his house was very modest for such a famous person.
we heard how dedicated he was to the cause of bringing people to the Negev.
At the Air Force Museum,
I thought that I would love to fly one of those birds in an Israeli uniform.
All the planes had fascinating stories behind them.
We met the first Jewish soldier to finish the Air Force course.
It made me realize how much work was put into the country to make it stand.
At the Dig for a Day at the Beit Guvrin Archaeological Site.
I realized digging in caves isn't meant for tall people.
I found a lot of red pottery and a cool bone that crumbled into dust in my hand, and a tooth.
I found a piece of a house from thousands of years ago.
I found a piece of floor. I was the first one to step on it in 2,000 years.
Scorpion hunting.
They're so cool and fast. I tried really hard not to step on one. It was terrifyingly cool.
One ran after me.
Visiting Daniel's kibbutz.
2 wolves crossed for me that day when my Israeli friends met my American friends.
Everyone was really nice. I wish I lived on a kibbutz.
Jerusalem.
The old city was beautiful. It was like a winding maze of staircases, archways, and alleys.
I felt like I'd walked through a time portal. It was awe-inspiring to think that we were looking at the same land Jews had been looking at for 2,000 years.
I felt proud to be a Jew.
In Hezekiah's tunnel,
It was freezing, dark, and tiny, but amazing. It was cool because it showed the route of David when he was trying to escape.
Praying at the kotel.
The holiest experience I've ever had.
I put a note in the wall for my grandpa.
It was beautiful to see people there from all over the world.
I felt so connected to my religion and all these other women I didn't even know.
Yom HaShoah in Israel.
I got chills when I heard the siren.
Everybody stopped what they were doing to pay respect.
We were standing in the heart of Jerusalem, a place that people in the Holocaust dreamed about going to.
Shopping in Israel.
Never trust the guy who says he has the best prices.
He definitely doesn't.
Shopping on Ben Yehuda Street was so fun. The jewelry is so beautiful.
I accidentally spent a fortune.
Herding sheep and goats.
Ew, they won't move.
You think kids aren't great at following directions? You should try herding goats.
At the Tank Museum, there was a giant wall filled with all of the names of all the Israeli fallen soldiers. It was sad because there were so many names.
Shabbat in Israel.
It was just wonderful. It was so fun to dance with complete strangers.
Everyone was laid back and everything just stopped.
We also had a service right next to the Mediterranean Sea, and it was beautiful.
Yad Vashem.
The children's memorial was so intense.
The Valley of Community showed me how many Jewish villages practically disappeared.
The food in Israel.
A schnitzel sandwich a day keeps the tummy rumbling away.
The rugelach from marzipan was so good.
Shawarma tastes like heaven in a pita.
The best drink was iced chocolate.
Oatmeal isn't just a breakfast meal.
Camping.
I had fun skipping rocks in the Kinneret.
I hate camping, but this was so much fun.
Well, I got stuck in my sleeping bag, fell out of my tent, and then accidentally ate some dirt. But it was a good way to bond with the Israelis.
Staying with our host families.
Was the best experience ever.
I felt like I was actually a part of the country and not just a tourist.
We got to explore the whole neighborhood and meet all these Israeli kids. My host family taught me how to make an Israeli dinner.
At the Kaduri Regional School,
I made so many Instagram and Snapchat friends.
We saw Shani. She's in the army now.
Yom HaZikaron in Israel.
When I heard the siren, it felt like my soul was shaking.
It was so moving because we went to Nadav Ramon's grave and heard his whole story again.
I had goosebumps when I listened and sang along with the loud and proud voices of people singing Hatikva, people who had fought endless battles for this land.
We went to a beautiful ceremony with the Kaduri kids.
Very serious. Most people know a fallen soldier.
Tel Aviv. You can walk down the street and see a bunch of rabbis and then turn the corner and see a punk kid with a blue mohawk.
It's the best place in Israel.
We had a delicious barbecue on the roof of our hotel.
Yom HaAtzmaut in Israel.
There were so many parties going on.
I was attacked with silly strip.
There is no better place to be on Independence Day than Independence Hall.
Overall, the trip was
amazing!
A one-in-a-lifetime experience.
Life-changing.
Delicious!
It took my understanding of Israel to a whole new level.
The trip made me feel at home in Israel. When I go back to Israel, I will
Join the IDF.
Speak more Hebrew.
visit our Kaduri friends.
Make aliyah.
Eat more shawarma.
When I go back, I want to stay.
For making our class trip possible, we thank
Our chaperones, Adon Katz and Gavert Gilbert.
Maya and Aaron are awesome guides. They help make me feel so at home in Israel.
The generous donor who made this trip possible.
Our parents.
Our grandparents.
Thank you, MJDS.
help purchase a new bubbler for the middle school hallway. The future starts in January.
Thank you, Abby, and the class of 2016, and that is very typical of this class. This is a great gift. Just a couple of announcements before we end our program tonight. Before we leave, we want to thank our wonderful choir, Gavira Cohen and Gavira Lambert. Couple of announcements. Please let the graduates leave first when our program is over at the end of the ceremony. And also parents or graduates, if you'll see Gavira Peck in the reception area to pick up your folders, that will give you your diploma, your grad photo, and your mazelgrams. And finally, when we're done today, there will be a reception catered by those very famous kitchen people.
I now have the honor and privilege of sharing a few thoughts and words with the graduates. I hope you won't be offended. I'm going to move to this side of the podium so that I can face the graduates. Our Torah portion this week is Bamidbar, and we begin reading the fourth of the 5 books of the Torah. And of course, Bamidbar begins with Bamidbar. The Israelites are wandering in the desert. Their journey is unknown, perhaps even their destination unknown. Yet the last word of the book, which we'll read months from now, is Jericho. Jericho. That's going to be the first city that the Israelites enter and conquer when they arrive and enter the land of Israel. And so we begin Sefer Bamidbar with the nomadic Israelites wandering throughout the unknown desert and arriving finally at the shores of Israel. And as I was thinking about Sefer Bamidbar, I was also thinking about the 18 of you. Some of you for 2 years, some of you for 10 years have been wandering through the desert hallways of MJDS. I think we all knew that you'd get to this day, but the journey was still unknown. How would you get there? What would be the ups and downs of the roller coasters? What would ultimately your path look like? But just like the Israelites in the Torah, your journey ended at the same place. Your journey culminated in the land of Israel. But as we know, any time that one journey concludes, another begins. And so too would it be with the Israelite people. Once they arrived at the land of Israel, it wasn't enough. They then had to enter the land and own the land and take the land for themselves. And this is the beginning of your next steps. What do you now do in the next phase of your journey of life? What are your next steps? But you're not going alone. The Israelites had help. And it wasn't just Moshe and later Yehoshua as guides, but they had the teachings of our tradition, the Torah, to guide them on their path. And so too do all 18 of you. You have the teachings and the traditions of your Judaism that MJDS helped instill in you. And just as the Israelites were able to enter the land of Israel, to help make this truly a land flowing with milk and honey, so too am I confident that you will be able to continue on your journey in this world. That you will help make this world a true promised land and bring lots of joy and sweetness to the world in which we live. None of us know where that journey will take you. None of us know how you're going to get there. But I am confident that you will do your part to make this world a place of which we're all proud. And my bracha is not only that you do that, but every once in a while, it doesn't have to be too often, every once in a while, please come back to MJDS and let us know how it's going. Mazal tov. I will now ask the Kita Chet graduates to please rise and join in the middle of the Bima for Birkat Kohanim. And please rise. Yivarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha, Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'yifuneka, Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yaseh lecha shalom. May Adonai bless you and protect you. May Adonai light God's face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you. May Adonai lift God's face unto you and give you and your family and friends a lifetime of health, happiness, prosperity, and peace. And let us say, Amen. And we now invite Cantor Berman to lead us in Shehecheyanu and Hatikva.
Well, certainly as the cantor of Congregation Shalom, I am honored to be able to do this, but also as a former faculty member and the proud parent of 2 MJDS graduates. So it is my privilege to do this, but please join me.